International stocks have experienced some strength, which has been a welcome sight for our portfolios, as we do have an allocation to the international markets. And we're seeing that international stocks are surprisingly up 18%. So just kind of going back to the original US stocks, US bonds, we have seen a tremendous amount of volatility, a downturn, and then a pretty sharp recovery. If we go over the last 5 years, you can see even a little bit more of fluctuations and pullback. And this was a negative rate of return that the stock market experienced in 2022. And we can see that bonds are still in negative territory due to struggling to digest that record-breaking interest rate increase that our country started and put forth mainly in 2022. What I'm seeing is there's more of a higher correlation, meaning stocks and bonds are trending many times in somewhat a similar direction. So what our firm has looked for is other assets that provide a different return than the stock and bond market, and hopefully a good return. And what I want to just share and then kind of kick to Patrick to kind of look through is, if we look here back since January 1, so this is again year to date, layering in StepStone's private markets. So this is an interval fund that is roughly 70% private equity. The remaining 30% is split between private real estate and private credit. Think of private credit as private loans. What we see here in orange is not only outperformance, but more so the consistency. So the downturn that occurred, look at the low point that the private markets experienced, minus 1% at the low from January 1 compared to the markets, which were down over 14%. So for us, this has been a welcome sight inside of the portfolio. I don't know if you can spend 30 seconds, Pat, just explaining StepStone and kind of the makeup on that, roughly 70% in private equity and then private real estate and private credit. And while you do so, maybe even comment if we look at the 5-year chart. And that 5-year chart is where I really think we can see the consistency and just the lower volatility that fund has been producing relative to U.S. stocks, and then even certainly a struggling bond market over the last 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. So good. When I take a look at this is starting with the performance. We're going to spend more time demonstrating how this happens. But essentially, the private markets fund, as you said, is part of private equity, private credit, and some private real estate. And so private, what does that mean? It's really private. The term private markets is really starting to dominate the conversation. Private equity and private credit are taking center stage.